Man, leading Emmy, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to Emmy TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Yeah, you know, this is it. This is it. This is it. This is it. This for your mama. This for your daddy. This for your mama. You better get ready. Yeah.
Well, alrighty then.
We talking about mamas today. Yeah. Mama. Never. Mama. Talking about my mama. Yeah. So yeah, we on fire after yesterday. You know, Dave, after the closing of the spring session. These boys, man, the families, man, just to see that room, the environment.
Yeah, that was sweet.
That was just, hey, that made my year, right? For this first part, because we always go hard for the first part of the year to see, right? This is a formula.
Right.
We go hard first 6 months. After June, take a break, watch God blessings.
Right.
Watch how it grow, right?
Right.
And, man, we going to talk about mamas today. Y'all going to have to give me a minute, though, where I'm talking about my boys. I'm talking about the mentoring program and my fathers and good fathers only, and, right, and Heather. And, like, yesterday was just awesome.
Epic.
I really like the fact, right, we kicked off the podcast by bringing in Akeem.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So Akeem come in, you know, he make beats. Right? So, okay, that's what's up. And Akeem make those beats, and yesterday, Akeem was against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
The elephant is over there.
Right.
Akeem was against the wall in the mentoring program.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Akeem was in trouble. Akeem showed up, act like he couldn't remember, you know what I mean? But when he came to that, all right, Akeem, it's on you, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And my God, the resilience, the bounce back.
Right.
Man, that boy answered the bell.
Yeah, he did.
It was going to be hard on him to walk out of there without that jacket.
Yeah. He wasn't going to let that happen.
He was like, no way.
That's right.
He went to thinking and trying to figure it out, you know. His mama, oh, no. His mama like, no, you want to stay, mess around on video games. He's like, oh, where my... And so I had to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, my man, this on you.
Right.
This ain't no your mama. You got this your responsibility.
Right. 14 weeks of teaching that.
14 weeks. Right. What you talking about? Who you talking? Yeah, don't say another word. Right? This on you. Nobody else. Or he went to finding stuff. Suddenly, where he couldn't find the uniform, here he come in the uniform top.
That's right. He was ready.
Right? He came and delivered. So yesterday was dope, right? But more importantly, shout out to the Roman family, Angie Roman, and her family, putting the fundraiser down on for Emmy, right? Which, man, God knows we needed it, right? To continue the work and how we're growing. Shout out to TCF Bank. Shout out to the Balmer Group. Shout out to, don't get me to preaching. I don't want to start today.
I thought you was talking about mamas, not your dad.
Yeah. We talking about mama. But I ain't want to give it up.
But you're getting like your daddy now.
Yeah, got to give it up to my daddy. Got to give it up. God is delivering on his promise, right? So, Ms. Heather, who the Kamari and Corey's grandparents?
The Dogans.
The Dogans came through. Yeah. Shout out to them. Yeah. Right? Donating to the program, see the vision and how far it could go and how the parents were all responsive to the goal is, we can handle 600 boys a year.
That's right.
We get some more fathers involved, we get some more mentors.
Yeah.
And it's on.
It's about to blow up.
It's about to blow it. Right? So, today we decided to talk about mothers, right? Mamas, right? The one from which you come in. You swim in the man and you come out through the woman. How miracle is that? You swim in the man and you come through and out of the mother's womb. The womb, mothers, mama, right? Moments of magic. Get that t-shirt and swag. WeStandWithGod.com. Moments of magic. Mom, right? Heather, you're a mother. And I know we're going to let you have this moment. We're going to let you lead this way. Because me and Dave, we probably could talk about our mamas all day. Right? So we're going to let you kick this off for the mothers. Go ahead, Mom.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love that introduction. Well, I do want to just, this is a really interesting time for my family. And there's a lot happening with my family as we are entering another chapter. We're ending a chapter in our family and we're starting the next level of it. Now more than ever, the idea and the thought of legacy is even more important. And so I think my perspective for mothers today is really about the story that's being told. So there's a story that is unfolding from our grandparents to our parents to us. And as we become parents, there's another chapter of that story that evolves. The story itself becomes part of your legacy. And I'm really excited about looking through the lens of this particular story from my mother and my father's point of view. And as you know, having aging parents and all the dynamics that go along with that, you actually learn more about the value of your parents. You learn more about the value of their lives as people. I think we have some expectations around parents and that they're supposed to have had it all together. And a lot of us were actually growing up with our parents at the same time. And the gap of what those years look like in our day and age now is even shorter a distance than it was before. And so we truly have parents growing up with their children. You're growing up, you're growing out. You don't necessarily have all the answers. And especially if you don't have your parents, grandparents, and your village around you to help you navigate those pitfalls. You need wisdom and experience to help you navigate, but you also have to find your way and you have to find the tools that are going to work best for you. So I just want to kind of paint this story, and I'm calling it a love story because there was a point where two people were drawn together for whatever that spark might have been. And we pray that those who create that spark did it out of sense of love and not just lust. But however God brought you into this world through those portals, through that the initial swim, as Calvin mentioned, through the exit of this wombed portal, that what you do in love will grow, and that is
Love and
what will last.
happiness.
So I'm kind of excited about looking at this story of motherhood through this lens. So the lens of this love story, because it's an act of love, it's an act of pain, and it's an act of purpose, all rolled into one when a mother actually gives birth to a child. And so some of the things that happen as a result of that is a part of the life lessons and the amount of wisdom and experience that you decide to accept and be guided by on those steps ahead, because there really is no manual. There's some ideas of best practices, but the work of just getting that life from spirit to spirit being is really a love story. And I really would like to look at the lens of motherhood through that love story.
Awesome. Okay. Well, tiptoe through the tulips. Love and happiness. Well, something's going wrong. Someone's on the phone. 3:00 in the morning.
Wrong story.
Yeah. Talking about. Yeah. But go ahead, proceed with your love story. We are at your call. You're a mom. You're a terrific mom. You're a mother. You're a woman who helps other women. You're mothering many. You do a tremendous lot. You are very, very special. You're gifted. You do the work. You are caring. You know, you care for many and multiples, right? And you really believe in what you do. And so as a mom and a person that cares about many, you know, it's just a powerful thing watching you do your thing, you know, and I'm always cautious because I'm always concerned about you, right? And
Thank
what
you.
you get out the deal, right? And you know, people don't know you this way. I do. They don't know the much needed conversations, phone calls, people, networks, elderly, young, old, people that are in your ear, right? And a lot of times, you know, this is where my mother's story come in at, right? And so if this is the time for you to take this away before I begin talking about my mom, because my mom's story is epic, and it goes and it goes and it goes. So, if you'd like, I'd like for you to continue, or unless you want me to take over, I can.
Oh no, you know, I'm happy to share the stories. I'm happy to share the stories. So again, the lens. I'll start as part of my story. I was a late mother. I was 38 when I had my son, and the blessing was that I did not believe that I could get pregnant. And so I had been married for a number of years, and we did not have children together. And so I went a few more years into my 30s. I was engaged, and we had decided that we were going to have children. And at that point, we weren't able to have children. So by that time, I had decided to be the best auntie I could be, the best godmother I could be. And I had accepted that role when God presented me and my husband at that time with a child. It was quite a surprise. So as I sat in the waiting room of the doctor's office to confirm that I was actually pregnant, there were a lot of young mothers. Most of them had at least one or two children at the time, and they all, along with the nurses, thought it was really funny that there was a 38-year-old woman in the lobby having a child for the first time. I mean, it was like a sitcom. It really looked like that kind of a scene. And I was like, I'm thinking, well, isn't it a good thing that I actually waited a little bit longer to get a little bit more, a little bit more of my life together? I was thinking like that. But they were like, this is your first baby. Why did you wait so long? So I mean, it actually wasn't my choice to wait that long. That was a special order. I guess my son really was supposed to be a part of this world because he's, his life essence was waiting for a while to be birthed into this place to the parents that he had. So, which was a blessing. Another part of a love story. And so he was made in love, he was named in love, and he was brought into this world in love. And so a lot of us have this story about about motherhood, and there, again, I said it was the love, it was the pain, but it was also the purpose. And I think that is a lot of what makes up the ingredients for motherhood. Because, there are going to be times when you get angry, or you feel alone, you feel like nobody understands you have a set of differences with maybe your mate, your spouse, or your partner, or the father of your child. Part of that is a painful process when you give so much to bring the child into the world. And I think one of the blessings that God gives us is that with all the changes that your body has to go through, and these are uncomfortable, often painful changes that you go through for that process, it builds your sense of endurance. And so it builds your sense of endurance not only for the changes that your bodies go through, but the endurance that you need after that child comes into the world. And so if you have that level of endurance, and it's not that our fathers are not important, this is just the sole experience that the one that carries that life and brings that life into the world is only your journey at that point. It is your pain, it is your purpose, and it's the love that you have within you, or that is born into you, to be able to birth into the world. And I think if we looked at our journey more as a love story, then we would be able to extend that love more over to the love you have for your child, but also the love that you have for that partner who helped to create that child. I think if we started to look a little bit differently at our children, and look at our children through the lens of the person that we decided to bring life into the world with, that if we extended just a portion of that, we would have a little more patience with them. We would have a little more tolerance with them, and we could continue to grow and work through things and work through our differences with that sense of love. Because again, it's about the pain and the purpose, and ultimately it creates love. And the more that we offer that to our children, the more that we have to give, instead of holding that and or trying to manipulate what love is supposed to be, or our sole idea of love is supposed to be, that we can have better and healthier relationships too, and have a better understanding that this was a actual partnership. Although we had the purpose, pain, and the love to bring that life into the world, we did not create that life in isolation. It still was purpose, pain, and love in that process. So even if the two people didn't come together in love, God's love was a result of those two people coming together. And so it's still love in that process. And we sometimes linger on the painful component of this story. We try to make the purposeful component of the story, but somehow we get lost in the expectations of what we wanted that the outcome of that union to be. And so as long as we are lining up with God's love, God's purpose, then God can help us endure the painful parts. So I think that part of a story of motherhood and what happens after birth then becomes the story that we create, that becomes part of the legacy of that creation.
So awesome. Right. And so who said women can have legacies, right? And so what you just shared was a part of that, right? It was part of who you are, what you come from. I was just thinking about yesterday how you laughed at your mom the other day. And
well, that was funny.
Right. And how we as parents think that we can't learn from our kids, right? But vice versa. Our kids have gotten to a place where they think they know more than the parent, but the parent is really always ahead of you. So there's always a situation that the parent has been in through their age that you have to go to them for. Hey, what were you doing at 40? Well, at 40, What was it like at 50? No, regardless of your experiences, your parents have different experiences that you have to go to them for, right? So, Dave, this is your opportunity, right? Heather, great job. Tell us about your mom, Dave.
Yeah, my mother's a very, very strong woman. She had me when she was 16. But there's a story, she said, a love story. She had to give up her life for me because she was a student with the intention to be a social worker, but she got pregnant. And because she was a church-going girl, she had to go before the church and apologize for her sin, which at 16 would be pretty humiliating. And then, my father decided to, well, my grandfather decided to let her get her own apartment. So wherever my mother went, I went. My mother was never, at least for the most part, without me. My grandfather said, you brought him in the world, you're going to take care of him. And she wanted to keep me because she could have gave me up. So the journey began, the love story began, and unfortunately, my father, if you will, he was a little older, and they all were from Louisiana. So when they come up here, that was a journey itself because it was a transition away from the village. And that relation did not work out. But however, he maintained contact, and eventually my mother remarried. But my mother's a very strong individual with very astute in regarding to having this innate ability to philosophize without being educated. So she's always been the go-to person. She's only 2 feet tall. So literally she's short. I'm talking short. And so we end up with 5 brothers. I end up with 5 brothers and 4 sisters. So this little bitty woman, basically, as I said, she was the key central person in the neighborhood. And they would come to her, even though she was a young woman, she just had that classic line of the old soul. And to present date, she still is that same individual that everybody go to. She never did finish college like she wanted to, but basically her wisdom and knowledge is so profound that even to date, I don't know how many relationships she's saved because she had this. My mother's also raw. So, they say, well, daddy can swear, my mama can swear, right? But with this flair about it that it doesn't sound like profanity, if you will. But she always came correct to people. They come, they sit on the porch, and she would just give them this little wisdom. And more so, we would call it common sense, but it was also life experience and taking things and putting it in its proper perspective. She's always been one to say, what is reasonable and what does something look like? And sometimes in our development, as Heather said, in relationships, you got your perspective, he has his perspective, and sometimes those 2 perspectives don't come together because you're operating out of the word would say self-seeking behavior. It's about me. But once people start to recognize that if you get in a relationship, it ain't about you. It's only about you when you're with you. But when you decide to take on a relationship, whether it's to have a child, whether it's to have a husband, if you go into Proverbs 31, you will see the identification of a mother who's invested not just about herself, but about her husband, her children, the neighborhood, the community expansion. And this is what my mother's about. So, even with her and my dad doesn't like the word step, but he's transitioning to God now. But but even with my stepfather, people will say, you did a good job raising all these boys. And matter of fact, she just told me this other day, her friend called her up and say, how do you get your kids to tell you that they love you? She said, I don't get them to tell me that, I don't make them tell them that they love me. They do it on their own. Because I give love, they give it back. And sometimes people are so quick to want something. I brought you in this world, you owe me. But my mother always come back and say, we don't owe you, their kids don't owe you anything. Because you brought them into the world. Through the act of God, you brought them into the world. Now it's your responsibility as the caretaker to take care of that child. Because we're God's children. But we are the caregivers. We're the ones that are supposed to make sure that they're taken care of to prepare them for their journey. So, again, I just would call my mom this little book of wisdom, and one that just has so much to contribute. And she's feisty. Like I say, she's 2 feet tall, but she's real feisty. So, if you come up against her, you better come correct, because she going to get with you. She moved from being 2 feet tall to 6 feet tall. So, and she put what we call reverent fear into us. So being 2 feet tall, you still shaking like Don Knotts when you come up against her.
Well, she established.
That's right. She established. She caught you early. It's too late to catch you at 13. She caught you at 13 months. And from that point on, by the time you're 5, you're like, okay, we would come in the house, everybody line up. Now you see all these kids, and they all come into your house, and they sit down at the couch, and they don't move. I remember when I met my second wife, my my mother-in-law said, "Do he move? Do he go to the bathroom?" Because I still had the same behavior. Come in the house, sit down, better not move. That's just the way it was. Building that reverent fear. So. Again, it's just a powerhouse of wisdom.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, my mom, right? My mother, Ali, right? The great and wonderful Al. Right? You talk about establishing, right? And so I really didn't get a taste until my parents split, and it was on. And I say this because a lot of women really do this, and they harm themselves in trying to do it all by themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Plus what you have to carry in tow, right? And then there are a lot of men who who think the woman that they get with can do the same things that their mothers do in a relationship for you. Like, that's crazy, right? Mm-hmm. You get with a woman and you put all this expectation on her because you saw your mother fly around the house on a broom, jump stick, hop, sock, shoes, right? She made everything happen, right? Because she also had access to the governmental dad, right? Mm-hmm. So she wasn't alone, right? But this mother, right, my mom, was the oldest of 10, right? She became the oldest when her brother Richard passed away. Then she was born, right? So it's all of these people. She's in a house with a lot of boys, athletes. All my uncles were athletes. One of my uncles was a pimp. A real original 8-mile pimp, right? And my grandfather was a plumber. Mm-hmm. And my uncle became the youngest uncle became an All-American. This is where it really picks up for me, right? But my mom, she didn't buy it, right? She would always say, regardless of what's going on, we are the gang. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you're not joining no gangs because you already got a gang here. Mm-hmm. So don't come in this damn house talking about you getting ready to join this gang or that gang. I'm going to put my foot in your ass and you're going to have to go right back out there and tell them you can't join. Right? So we talking about, we grew up in an era where, gambling, cards, right? We had to go to the store. This is why I learned to work early, right? But at the same time, I watched my mother help prostitutes get off the street. Mm-hmm. Literally putting her brother out of business, mm-hmm. right? And there are so many stories. I'll never forget the one story, and we'll talk about, I met somebody, a friend of mine, his nephew is marrying, right? I see my cousin JoJo, and I'm going, and he like, what you doing here? This my niece, right? So essentially this family, yeah. So he goes sit me down at the table with his mom. Now, as a kid, right away I remember his mom. I didn't know his mom was 14 mm-hmm. when she had him, mm-hmm. and my mom had taken her in. Mm-hmm. You see, mm-hmm. So when we talk about Ali Bill, right? It's a lot of pressure on a lot of women, right? Mm-hmm. I talk about this because my brothers, they really look at women, right, and they have this process. But for my mom, they not buying it. You know what I mean? My mom did a lot. She really did. Christmas, different holidays. We didn't, We didn't let the house go till it was time to go. You know what I mean? In that house that my parents was, had and born on Prairie, the song "Oh Happy Day" was born right there. My mom, the part on "Oh Happy Day" where the lady sings, my mom put that in there, right? My mom, when she, before with one eye, was helping people get in the senior citizens home. She even ran in Roanoke Township for a position with half an eye, like literally. She had to have eye surgery, literally to see us, right? I would come home from school, and everybody was at the house talking to my mama. Like, you got your home mama. Like, I'm coming home for practice, and like, what's up, Bubs? What's happening, Oh, man, just over here talking to your mama. You know what I mean? Because she come from, she was very, very grounded in male, right? She understood us, right? And she was a bully, right? She was a bully with a switch. She was a bully with an extension cord. She was a bully, right? She didn't, she was hard on her boys. You know what I mean? One of the greatest stories was my sister was talking tough. My mama had a cast on, and my sister was talking tough, right? And she had lived next door with my aunt, her sister. She said, "That's it. You bring your ass home. You ain't going nowhere, right?" My sister talking tough. My mama got a cast on. Okay. At that time, my sister 18. Whooped her ass right in front of everybody in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't talking about with a switch. You right? But you talking strength. And she gave so much to so many people. She managed a couple of groups. She gave the world, Derek Brinkley sings because of my mom. Right? My mom had two groups, a male group and a female group. Yeah, right. While she had 7 kids running around the house in their drawers, fighting every day. Right. We had charter buses. When they split, we was down to one charter bus. Mr. Tony ran the charter bus. Right. So Mr. Tony used to come over. We'd be in the back. Right. My mom went by. You see, and so as time went on, even in the city, it got too violent, right? We can say what we want to say about Detroit, right? Kids having to go to school every day to fight just to go to school, that's just the dumbest shit in the world, right? You can't get education. It's tough to get education in that environment, right? And some kids, that's why they started putting kids in different, but that's a tough environment for a child to get education. So kudos to any kid that can get an education in an environment where the students fight each other every damn day since I was a kid, right? And so parenting plays a key part. So my brother was at freshman on varsity basketball at Mumford. I'll never forget it. My mom pulled up, and in the wagon, they was brawling. Mumford and McKenzie outside. She pulled up.
I went to McKenzie.
Right? She pulled up. Get you in the car. Right? He pulled off. And that's when, that was it. She got the news, we can move, and we moved right into Ferndale. So I went to middle school, he went to high school, right? And, the adjustment for people, right? But my mom, hey, she did what she needed to do.
That's right.
Now, she could make some games, but Corn's games, she was making Corn's game. He the baby boy, so she gonna make sure, right? She had Corn's game. She always said everybody else was just average till it came to Corn. You know what I mean? Not understanding that Corn benefited from everybody being average and on his head, right? You not failing. You know what I mean? So, my mom, one of the sweetest things. Here's a great story. She didn't talk to me for a year because Mother's Day was big to her. And I was, remember, I was on my own, chilling. I ain't had much money, but every little dime I was paying rent for my own little spot. And I pulled up on this particular, and it's a picture till this day where they all was at my Aunt Daisy house, and they took the picture. I'm the only one not in the picture because she ain't talked to me for a year. She used to refer, tell your brother, I could be sitting right there. Tell your brother, when you see your brother, tell him he need to do, right, for a year, right? Guess what I did, Dave? For Mother's Day, I took her to the, the Dairy Queen, and I was like, Mom, this is all the money I got. You know, I know how you serious about this, right? But I bought her a banana split, right? And she was so salty about the banana split, right? So I was like, come on, man, I'll make it up, right? No, you know, come on, we the same sign. You know, come on, I got you. Man, she ain't talked to me for a year, and I help her eat the banana split.
You wouldn't even let her eat it on her own.
Right.
She ain't gonna talk to me. Can I eat that split?
Right. But what's crazy is her friendships. All of us have that same gift. Her friendships were incredible. It was always people, right? I named her, she had a gang. I called them a gang of women, right? My aunts, all of them. I called them the Gumbies. Every last one of them had snatched out, got their teeth snatched out, right? And was wearing it right this straight. I called them Gumbies. 1, 2, 3. I did a whole comedy thing about it, right? Oh, man. People laughed. They laughed for the days, right? So she got mad and told he erased that damn comedy tape.
Talk to you for another year, huh?
Yeah. But when you talk about, can I come talk to you? When I wasn't no longer a virgin, and I went and sat down, and I was like, I'm in love with this girl, and she looked at me, she was like, you? I was like, yeah. She started crying. Like, I thought out of all my kids. I said, Mom, for real? She was like, yeah. I'm sitting there, I'm like, Mom. She like, look at you. You have no business out there. Like, right? She gives me this full. And then what she was famous for was she'll pull you in the room, put you on the lap when you're going through something, and sing Aretha Franklin on the midnight train in Georgia. Everybody got that treatment. Oh, you going through something? Come on in here. And put you on the lap, and she go to rocking and singing Aretha Franklin. And so when I tell you we had a ball, Dave, like I had a ball. She allowed us to make sure that we had these areas and boundaries that we can be. Man, you talking about stories, Dave. She got, if she could talk, she got stories from her oldest son all the way down to her youngest son. It was never a dull moment in a house with 5 boys and 2 girls, right? And I say that because she was a tremendous person. My mom was a tremendous person. People help people when she got 7 kids. She still hadn't found a couch for somebody who didn't have a place. I remember somebody tried to break in the house. We was all in the same bed, right? This throwback. Somebody tried to break in the house. She got a steel pan right by the bed. You know what I mean? And she went to clucking. You coming in the wrong window, right? Got that rifle. My man, whoever it was gone.
He was gone.
He was gone, right? And
you want some of this? No.
Yeah, no. And so we are the mans, right? We are the mans, right? So on the block, everybody knew. Like, we just lost Sonny Man. So Sonny Man literally was directly across the street. We burying Sonny Man on May 5th. So Sonny Man was 84. Sonny Man was directly across the street. I called the other day, his wife and her son in the room. She, oh, what's up, Fat Jack? Because that's what they used to call me, Fat Jack, because I was always hustling. Always, from the age 8. I'm going. What's up, Fat Jack? How you doing? I said, well, how you doing? Oh, I'm good, right? Boy, all these kids. Yeah, we got all that. But my mom was really, really tremendously a great human being. And I say that because she helped so many people. She helped people run for elected office. She helped so many people. And so I think That's where some of the things that I do, I'm almost certain, because both of my parents were doers. So I know I get a lot from both of them. My job is to raise the bar so high that my children got to reach that high. I pray to God every day that they arrive to this moment, right? Because it's very, very important to appreciate mothers, right? Regardless to who they are and what they are, we have to appreciate our mothers. Now, again, mine, she was different. She was real different. You did loved her. You know what I mean? Everybody loved her. And she talked trash with the best of them, cracked jokes, snap, and we would play card games as a whole family, community, the whole nine, and it was on, right? And that was my mom. Her name was Alibel Rosetta. Her maiden name was McNeil. Her married name was Mann. Tremendous person, and helped tons and tons of people. So that's my mom. That's my mom in a nutshell. If you don't understand why we say put your family first, that's part of the reason why. That's where we get it from. To just think about what your mom did for you, and Heather, what your mom has done and do, and the things that you're doing with your mom is just a powerful, powerful tribute, right? And I say these things wholeheartedly, right? That mothers are the fruit of the earth, right? And in appreciating mothers as we have been for so many years, we need to understand that responsibility is shared, right? Because the fathers are the root of the earth. The father is the root. The mother is the fruit. You can't have one without the other. In the process that we continuously to try to drive this syndrome that I have to do so by myself, and that I'm going to be validated, celebrated, appreciated for being by myself, we're going to continue to bury a lot of mothers. You should not have to do that. I watched my mom work herself to death. To death. I was a young man. I was 30-something. You know what I mean? I deserved to see her at least do 70. But she was 60 and looked 90. Mothers have to take better care of themselves. You have to leave pop alone. You have to leave sugar alone. You have to do things to better your health, right? So we can appreciate the wisdom even more so that you have to offer. I didn't get that. And it's, you see people and their mom, they're in their 60s and still got their parents. And I'm like, I just turned 30. My brothers was younger than that. That's a tough toll, right? When you can't experience your parents for a haul, because then what do you have, right? But mothers, again, are the fruit of the earth. They bring so much to your life. Mothers have been doing a great job, right? Making cake out of dirt. You know what I mean? This society really we really lost our way when it comes to parenting and the governmental dad. But more important, moms, thank you. Mothers, thank you. We really appreciate those of you who do the very best that you can and love on your children and produce standards and rules and integrity and loyalty, and making sure that your children are productive members of society. We want to shout you out, those mothers that are producing quality youth and adults in this world, and that's very, very important. So With that being said, Heather, I'm coming back to you. We are on some time, right? And so, tell that one story that you'd like to share.
Actually, I would like to share, as part of the love story, that as mothers, we have to remember that we have to continue to grow. So that means that some of the things that you may have held on to, you have to be willing and able to release some of the history, the past history. And I speak about this as called the meridian path. So that's the past history, present mystery. So there are things that have happened in our past that guide the decisions and the steps that we take in our present. Those things in our past were there to show us ourselves, to show us and give us some direction. It was not designed to keep us in the past. And so, as women, as mothers, we have to be on a continual cycle of growth. We can't grow as mothers if we're still holding on to those things of the past. If we're not learning new techniques, if we're not taking on new ideas, if we're not making some adjustments for the seasons and the times that we're in, then we can become obsolete. We can make ourselves irrelevant, and we can make ourselves disconnected from the very soul and the cell of that child that we have brought into the world. So we want to be able to plant good seed and be able to open our hands to allow them to take that love and those lessons to the next level. We are not meant to hold and control our children. We never were, because we are only the vessels, the vehicle by which their care is taken. We are not driving the vehicle. And I think it's really important as we are growing in our new seasons that we have to remember that we grow in motherhood. We don't stay the same because we can't. Just like we don't raise any child the exact same. Everyone is different, including you. So I would like to, just as part of our love story as mothers, remind us that we also have to love us, but we also have to grow us. And there are times when your hands have to be open to receive information and not hold on to our children and use them for controlling, and use them to hold on to the same things that we held on to in our past. So I think as part of our love story, we have to grow in a love for ourselves, because you do truly have to be able to love you before you can love others. And so you just extend the love that you have within you and for you to the lives of others, especially those who are entrusted to your care, and they're entrusted to your care. And so I think that's an important love part of the love story, that we have to make sure that we keep relevant and we keep in the forefront of our thoughts. That there is a time and there is a season, and as we take those next steps, considering what part of your love story are you leaving into your legacy. I think that's a really important part of our journey as mothers.
Amen. Brother Dave?
Yeah, I think it's essential as mothers that self-preservation has some meaning to them. As you, even as you as a child, you go through various stages of your life, and the person you were when you were 18 is not the person you are at 28. So I think it's important that you monitor yourself. You said, Calvin, that your mother was 60 but looked 90. And because she dispensed so much out, she forgot to preserve what was needed to take care of what's within. So it's important that mothers recognize that they have to preserve themselves, not because they're being selfish, but they're maintaining self-preservation. Because a mother will give 100%. Say, for example, you have a child who is not at 100%. They're sick. And the mother is sick as well. But you can guarantee that mother going to give 100% of herself to get that child back to 100%. But as she's depleting out her own energy, she's not maintaining her own health, you see. So it's important that she recognizes, and Heather said something that's really significant. You should not allow your past to be a life sentence, but a life lesson. And sometimes people put themselves in positions that they maintain the anger, the hurt, the frustrating, and sometimes unreasonable expectations of another human being when there was no clarity in communication, that down the road they end up still holding on to that ill, if you will, that disease. And so therefore, when they look up, that life sentence holds them hostage forever and a day. And sometimes then it's dispensed out. What's ever in you going to come out. Then it's dispensed out to the child who picks up that same, I'll use the word generational curse, and now that child carries it on. So it's essential that mothers recognize the importance of self-preservation as she goes out and she try to preserve those outside of herself. And Calvin, you said it well. Your mother try to preserve and help everybody, but sometimes mothers forget who they are and what they need. And there's no crime in preserving yourself. You know, Jesus went off into a quiet place to recharge. Sometimes people don't recharge. They don't take the time to do that. And for you to know it, that mother is struggling. I've watched mothers be caregivers to husbands, children who were ill, what have you, and then they die. Right, say the child died or the husband died, they die moments afterwards because they never took care of themselves. So it's important that we recognize, and even for us as men, we need to make sure that we help them to preserve themselves. At least nothing else, communicate, hey, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take a pause for the cause. I remember, and I'll close on this, I remember the professor said to me, what you going to do for, like you, I've been a workaholic all my life. As the man says, there's going to be plenty of time for sleeping when I'm dead. So I keep it moving. So she said, what you going to do for the summer? I say, I'm going to do this. I had this whole list. She said, you know what recreation is? I said, yeah, I know what it is. She said, I don't think you do. I said, well, what is it? She says, take time to recreate. We have to take time to recreate. Because as long as we keep dispensing out, you keep pulling from a battery and there's no alternating charge in it, what's going to happen?
Just experienced it. The car is going down.
So mothers, take care of yourselves. There's no crime in it.
Yeah. I would second that. Right.
I second that emotion.
Right. If you feel like loving me. Right. So, yeah, I would second that. I'm very, very conscious, and I say this to all mothers, I say this to all men and women. Get rid of that sugar. Let it go. Let that pop go. Really pay attention to what you're putting in. I know y'all looking at me like, oh, this a big guy, you a big guy, yeah. But, people can attest. Ain't no pop going to these lips, right? Very, 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 very seldom. One of my brothers has not had ice cream since my mom passed. Everything, the sugar, the corn syrup, the things that make the food last, that sits on your shelf, all of that, let that sugar go. I'm telling you, I watched it destroy my mom. I watched diabetes ravage. One time, my mom, they was getting ready to, they brought her in, and, right, she didn't want to lose her toes, so they took the bone and sewed up the toes.
Okay.
Right. And that process was heavy. Who was that, Crystal? Okay. Then that process was heavy, right? Watching your mom go in and out of the hospital, sugar at a 1,500, 16, walking dead, right? Coming out of there, right? Till they took a site, right? And is there any suggestion for any of the mothers and the fathers, pull back on that sugar. Watch the flour. Let the cakes and the ice cream, if you're going to have them seasonal for whatever. But don't, right? Living proof, Dave, me and you, living proof. But that's important to me, right? And I really try to share that as much as possible because it took a good woman. You know, I watched it ravage my mom to the point that we didn't get no more of that wisdom. So I say all that to say, mothers, you're very important. Mama, right? Here's one off the head. Mama, magic always making announcements. Mama, right? Moments, action, majestic, and annoying.
I ain't talking to you for a year.
Right.
Right? But, you know, you can't build a family without mothers and fathers.
Amen.
Remember, if we do things in alphabetical order, it is father, then mothers. If we do things in a collective, kids need both parents. If you do things from a community perspective, households need to. Because usually where you find trauma and drama is only one. Society has painted this picture where one seems to be more important than the other, when in fact they're both equally as important. I am Superman, but she is Wonder Woman. And together we produce The Incredibles. How about that? Right? And so it's just important that we understand that we've gotten away from family and gotten more into individualism. Right? And in doing so, I just want you to take this time this week, this Sunday, to enjoy your mother. Help her, love her, lean on her, right? Teach her what she doesn't know, right? Allow her to impart into you. Sometimes just listen to her, right? But more importantly, touch her, hold her hand, pray with her. If you have to, feed her, kiss her, rub her, admire her, appreciate her. She is the fruit of the earth. If we do mother's hood better, then everything gets better. If we do fatherhood better, then everything gets better. My name is Calvin Mann. Remember, put your family first. That's what our work is all about. Peace. Second part of my life, I lead with my grandmother. She used to cook the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She told me keep my head inside. But when I tell you that, when I showed up on stage, you take me school shopping and out to dinner.